Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. Kalidou Koulibaly, pockets for Mino and Mani. I had that rap ready for Koulibaly to come to Manchester United a few years ago. I'm not going to start singing it because I'm not a Chelsea fan, but Kalidou Koulibaly in the Premier League, to be honest with you, I don't think there is many fans that wouldn't enjoy this, even though we're not Chelsea fans. I mean, Chelsea fans get to enjoy it, but it's looking highly likely that Kalidou Koulibaly is going to join Chelsea. Also being linked to Kimpembe of PSG, Aki still as well. I think De Ligt, unfortunately, Bayern Munich have gone and done Bayern Munich things there and persuaded him to go there. Also a big signing for Newcastle on the horizon as well, and a few other bits as well. So let's fly into it. But Kalidou Koulibaly, pockets for Mino and Mani. Kane, Vardy, I can't remember what the words were now. But look, 31, he's only just turned 31. Now, this deal is meant to be 40 million euros for a 31-year-old Kalidou Koulibaly. Now, I feel with Chelsea at the moment, they're a little bit different to Manchester United. They've actually won things in the last few years, but they're also sort of in a similar position to United where they are not getting the deals done that they probably want to do. But I think it's a different situation for Chelsea. I think the hunger to get players is there. They've probably just been a little bit unfortunate. Now, there was a story that maybe they were going to hijack the Lewandowski deal, but again, Lewandowski wants to go to Barcelona, so I think that will happen. So I don't think they're going to do anything around that. Ronaldo, I don't think anything's going to happen around that at the moment unless something massively changes. I still think it's the best fit for Ronaldo and Chelsea. I think it would be a good deal, but I just don't feel that is something that United want to do at the moment, to sell him to a Premier League club. So in the striker situation, not too sure. Obviously, Rafinha, they'd had a deal accepted by... I mean, Chelsea can only do what they did with Rafinha. They stole in ahead of Arsenal. They got the deal done with Leeds. And then the player was just like, I want to go to Barcelona. So I don't know that even if Chelsea'd not bothered for Rafinha and it would have been Arsenal who'd agreed a fee, I still think Rafinha would have gone, I want to go to Barcelona, and was waiting on them. There's not a lot you can do about that. There's not a lot you can do about De Ligt, where you're willing to pay the price, but he goes, I want to go to Bayern Munich. So Chelsea have been a little bit unfortunate. But is it unfortunate when you're showing that ambition to go and get the players and then they decide to go to other clubs? So a bit unfortunate there. There was even talk a little bit last night about Kalidou Koulibaly being a player that Barcelona wants, but thankfully, it looks like a player has actually said, I'm not going to wait for Barcelona, because this whole summer just seems to be about waiting on Barcelona. And Kalidou Koulibaly apparently isn't going to do that. He's going to accept the deal and come to Chelsea. And I, for one, can't wait to see him in the Premier League. I think Thiago Silva was a risk at his age and he adapted really well. Kalidou Koulibaly is a spring chicken compared to him in relation to age at 31. So I'm interested to see what he's going to do, and the way that Chelsea play with the three centre-backs. I think that Koulibaly coming in and Rudiger going out, there's a debate to say that if Koulibaly adapts to the Premier League, you're getting a better player there. So I'm very excited to see him in the Premier League, and there are some signings this year that are going to rivals. Haaland to Man City, Darwin Núñez to Liverpool, and Koulibaly looking like he's going to Chelsea, that I will be watching on Match of the Day and going, you know what, I'm actually quite interested in watching these players in the Premier League. Obviously, I'd rather see them playing for Manchester United, and I would say about Koulibaly before we move on, Man United could have spent 85, maybe 90, and they'd have got him out of Napoli 3 or 4 years ago when we went for Maguire and spent 80 million. That will always be a big mistake, spending £80 million on Harry Maguire, but a little bit more, and we would have got Koulibaly. So we're about to see what he can do in the Premier League, and I'm interested to see. I think it's a good deal for Chelsea. They're also looking at other centre-backs. They still really like Aki, of course. They've been linked to him for quite a while. I'm not convinced about Aki, to be honest. He was formerly at Chelsea, wasn't he? He was Chelsea, Bournemouth, Man City. I think he was on loan at Bournemouth for a bit before he went there permanently. So it's another Chelsea player coming back. Man City fans really liked him, and I just think he's got a few too many mistakes in him for me, but it's up to Chelsea what they do. And then Kimpembe, I mean, I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know whether it will develop, but I think he would be an interesting player. I'm quite surprised they've not gone for Pau Torres, I've got to say. For £45 million, Pau Torres, left-footed, I think he's a player that would do well, especially in the way that Chelsea play with the three centre-backs. But Kimpembe, you can't knock him. He's a regular for France. He's a regular for PSG, and obviously Tuchel's got that touch point with PSG as well. So interesting to see if that develops as well. And they're all good players that they're being linked to. So fair play to Chelsea on that. I don't think they're going to hijack Lewandowski. Moving on to Newcastle, though, Alexander Isak, the Telegraph are saying that Newcastle are in negotiations to put a bid in for Real Sociedad's Swedish striker, Alexander Isak. Now, I tweeted about this morning and I said, look, I expect Newcastle to do a big deal that people go, oh, that's a big deal. They're spending some of their money there. And to instantly, I mean, some people agreed with me and then some people were like, oh, we only scored 5 or 6 goals last year. But that can be deceptive. A different league, a different system. I think Isak, from what I've seen of him, is very raw, but 22 years of age. There's a lot of strikers in this world at the moment who are 22 and people are sort of making their mind up on them. 22 is not 25. Like 25, Marcus Rashford's 25, isn't he? So 22 is still very young. And I think in Isak, I wouldn't take him at United, but I've got to be honest, and I wouldn't expect him to sign for Man City or Liverpool. But I do think there's a player there, and I think Newcastle would be perfect because they can afford to take him out of Sociedad, bring him to the Premier League. I think the Premier League would suit his game more. He's mobile. He's got a good physicality. He can dribble with the ball as well. And I think if you work on his finishing in a league like the Premier League, he could get you. He could come in and do a really good job. And I think Newcastle's the perfect fit for him. So I'd be very. I don't know whether he. I think Arsenal might have looked at him. I don't think we were ever looking at him at United, but I think Arsenal. I think Newcastle would be a good move for him. Now, whether they can get it done or not, I don't know, but. You wouldn't imagine that Real Sociedad would be able to resist. I mean, I don't think they're in a position where they can resist too much. Like, I think Newcastle could get him for a reasonable price. So, and I'd like to see him in the Premier League. I mean, look, he could completely flop. I'll say that, but there is definitely a talent there, and I think there has been times when a lot of bigger clubs have looked at him. So, it could be a very interesting move for Newcastle. That, and certainly one that. I wouldn't blame them if they decided to do it. I really wouldn't. It has been a bit of a quiet week, though. I just wanted to talk about that. Chelsea are actively trying to do things. I mean, United are trying to do things like a snail. But Liverpool are out on tour. Obviously, United played them yesterday. Looks like they're not going to bother doing anything else. They've got the team and they're going to go with it. Man City, I still think, will bring Cucurella in from Brighton. Lots of teams are heading out on tour now, and it does tend to slow things down. I always say this every summer transfer window as a United fan. I get nervous when we've not done any business and then we go on tour. Now, I think we're going to have to do business while we're on tour, but as soon as teams go on tour, it can really impact on what's going to happen. And it can really impact, on the players that you want to bring in as well. Like somebody was saying to me this morning that Barcelona are heading on tour to America on Friday. And if De Jong goes on that tour, what's the point in him getting on the plane and flying out there if he's going to sign for United on Sunday? As soon as they head on the tour, you can sort of say, well, the deal's not dead, but it's probably going to be a few weeks away. And I think that might be why it's slowing down things at the moment, because quite rightly, the Premier League kicks off 3 weeks on Friday. Arsenal's the first game, isn't it, on the Friday night? So 3 weeks on Friday, the Premier League starts. And teams are anxious to get their business done, but they're also anxious to be prepared, which is why they're all on tour preparing. So it has slowed the transfer window down a little bit. And all these deals that are stacked up and we expect to happen for this channel, I'd say Tielemans, Arsenal. When's that going to happen then? Is it going to happen? Ruben Neves, will he leave Wolves? And all these deals suddenly become, for clubs like Leicester and Wolves as well, and everybody else is like, well, we're playing a game in 3 weeks. If we sell Tielemans or Neves now, who's our replacement? So deals have sort of slowed down a bit and become a little bit harder. I think they'll speed up again when teams come back from tour, and once the season's started, I think you get more desperation and urgency then. But at the moment, it has slowed down a bit, and this is why I always say that business, when you're getting business done in June, it's very beneficial, and it's an indication that you're a well-organised club. So let's wait and see what happens. Chelsea are doing business. I really like the idea of Koulibaly at Chelsea. I don't know what anybody else thinks, and I like the idea of Isak at Newcastle. Give your comments below. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Make sure you subscribe and smash a like on the video. I'll speak to you all in a bit.